Hello artists, we're going to be playing with some value today, so go ahead and get this little value sheet handy. If you do not have this value sheet, you can work in a sketchbook or a notebook or on another piece of paper. Just make your own little grids that kind of look like this, and you will be filling in with your value. Now you want to have a regular number 2 pencil for today, and ideally, since we're working remotely, you'll go ahead and have a color pencil available. It can be any color pencil. Now if you don't have a color pencil, don't stress out about it. If you could get a crayon, you could even try this out with a crayon and that would be fine. Right here where it says any H or any B is talking about value pencils, and typically at school we would have value pencils available. So you can see this is a 3B value pencil, this is a 2H value pencil. Now if you have these wherever you are working, that's great. You can practice with any H and any B when we get to it. I know this is not a common item that we have at home, so I'm going to show you how to problem solve and just use a color pencil for variety. So right up here we have hatch. Think of hatch as making straight lines. Now in this first square, I want it to be as dark as possible, so I'm using good pressure with that pencil, and my lines are very close together. In fact, they're even touching. Now in the next box, I'm going to lift up on that pressure just a bit and spread my lines out just a bit. And you're going to notice as I go along and I lift up on the pressure and I spread out my lines, the boxes are going to appear to get lighter and lighter. In this next box, I'm going to spread my lines out even more and lift up on that pressure. And finally in this box, I'm going to spread out my lines even more and go even lighter. In the final box, I'm going to leave plain white. So you can see the gradation from dark to light. Now crosshatch is where you're going to do straight lines, but they're going to be in a crisscross pattern, or think about a plaid pattern. So I'm going to start with my lines going up and down, pressure very close together, making it nice and dark, and then I'm going to go across. Now if your straight lines are kind of diagonal in a crisscross like that, that is absolutely fine as well. This next box, once again, I'm going to spread out those lines a little bit and lift up on my pressure a tiny bit too. This next box, I'm going to spread out those lines even more. And finally, in this last box, I'm going to lift up on my pressure even more and spread out those lines even more. So once again, it goes from dark to light. In that last box, I'm just going to leave the white of the paper. Now shade, I'm just going to fill this in all the way. Sometimes it's nice, I'm going to move my hand back on that pencil a little bit and hold it a little bit further back. Sometimes I feel like that helps me just kind of shade in and make it nice and smooth as I'm shading. So I did use good pressure because I want that box to be as dark as possible. My next box, I'm going to pick up the pressure on that pencil just a bit. With these shading boxes, I am filling them in all the way. It's really pressure control. This next box, I'm going to pick up the pressure even more. By the way, it is nice to have an eraser handy for the value exercises, because if you get one box too dark, it's easy to erase and just kind of fix that. It's the nice thing about working in pencil. In this next box, I'm going to go super light. So you can see the gradual fade from dark to light. I'm going to leave that last square white. Now, choice mark. This is a lot of fun. You can do a series of shapes if you want. I'm just going to go for scribbles. So in this first one, my scribbles are really dark and they're really condensed and on top of each other. My next mark is a little bit lighter and a little bit more spread out, so you'll see some of the white of the paper kind of sticking through. My next mark is even lighter. Now just some ideas of different choice marks. You can do that scribble if you want to, but when I said different shapes, you could certainly just do a repeated triangle over and over if you would like to, or another kind of shape. You could also do different kind of lines, like a zigzag line that gets lighter and lighter. You could also do kind of flowing lines that overlap, so loop-de-loo lines. You could do circles. You could do just little dots, and that takes a while, but that is a lot of fun. There's a technique that we call stippling for little dots, or pointillism, and so you can fill in whole squares with just little dots and get lighter and lighter. So just think about that for choice marks, and you can be creative with the mark that you put in your choice mark. Now for any H, again, as I said, in the class we would grab an H pencil for this, but I'm just gonna go with a color pencil for this. So I'm working with my green color pencil, and I'm gonna press down with good pressure in my first box. Now I'm working on a shading technique, just like I did right here with this green color pencil, but if you wanted to work with a different kind of mark or a different kind of fill, that is absolutely fine. So I want a little bit more contrast in here, so I'm going to go back into my first square and see if I can darken that up just a bit. And so you can see I was still able to make a gradation with the dark green to the light. Just for fun and experimentation, I'm going to grab a crayon, and I'm going to go with the crayon in here, and I'm going to press down hard and kind of fill in all the way with my purple crayon. Good pressure, but try not to break your crayon. In the next box, I'm going to lift up on that pressure just a little bit. It might leave a little bit more holes in my coloring to make it appear a little bit lighter. Now the one thing about the crayons, especially, and coloring pencils a little bit too, you can't really erase these too well. So do be careful when you're doing these, and just be mindful about how dark you're getting. By the way, you could even get a Sharpie or a pen in these two and do like a hatch or a cross hatch or a choice mark, and even show value with a pen or a marker, and that would work well too. Now here is your big challenge. You're going to start with dark and go all the way light. It is more challenging, so it does not need to be perfect, but just do your best. I like to start with my darkest right here. And I'm going to gradually get a little bit lighter and lighter. And by the way, I know you've noticed I'm just using my number 2 pencil for this. So notice in the middle, my values kind of got a little bit the same. So I'm going to go through here and see what I can darken, and maybe I might even need to erase some too. Some people on value scales also like to write numbers, so if you like to number your value scale, you certainly can, but you don't have to. Now this little monster down here, he wants some value. He says, value me please. So taking the tool of your choice, I'm just using my number 2 pencil still, I'm going to go into this little monster, and I am going to just fill him with a variety of values. I can also use a variety of marks. The hatching and cross-hatching can add some cool patterns in there too. If I do this little loop-de-loo line, it almost looks like he's got hairy legs. And I can make it look like he's got thick hair down there by just kind of pressing down a little bit harder and making my lines overlap a little bit more and a little bit closer together. I'm really working on the fade with my shading in the mouth. So you can see where I pressed down a little bit harder right there. And so I've really created a shadow. So the nice thing is with that value, it really kind of gives you good practice with creating shadows. So any place where you think might look kind of more natural to have a shadow in your little monster, you certainly can add that now. And even though this monster is obviously done with just the printer ink from my printer, you can see how different values are evident just in the spacing of those lines on him. Shading in the tops of those teeth right where they come out from underneath that mouth. Same thing with these little guys over here. All right, I'm having too much fun, so I'm gonna stop right there. I know you did a great job on these, and do put these in your art folders so that you have them handy. And at some point, I'll be asking you if I can see your value papers. Thanks for watching, guys.